Alright. This game is pretty bad. It starts out pretty normal. He goes e4, I go d3 to protect my upcoming knight, so he can just push and take it. He goes d4, I put out my knight. He goes f3, probably to prevent me from going with my bishop over here. I continue my opening with g6, sorry. He develops his knight, I flank it on my dark bishop. He pulls out his dark bishop, and here's where I start to not really know what to do. So I just go b3. I could have just castled, but I felt like I had to maybe wait a little with that, because, he pulled out his bishop. He gives a check with his white squared bishop. Why? I have no clue. I could defend this with the pawn, or with the bishop. I decided to go with the bishop, and go for a trade, because I could just take back in a ton of ways, like this. This is probably not the best one, but also like this. But maybe the pawn was better, because then I just kick him out, but I have no clue. He takes, I take back with this knight. Now he puts his pawn on e5, challenging my horse, but ultimately just going for a queen trade, like after all the trades. But now I'm just up a pawn. Now he attacks my horse, or like tries to pin it to this pawn maybe, to like attack the rook. I don't know if that was his reasoning, but that's just what I think. But I don't care about it, and I pull out my other knight, threatening his bishop and knight, but actually just offering a knight trade, I guess. So I can just take back with the rook. He takes, I take back with the rook, and now he takes my knight with his dark squared bishop, and I take back with my rook. I could have also taken back with the bishop, but I'm also giving him a check this way, so I thought, why not? He moves his king to safety, and I put my rook back on the d5 square. My reasoning for this was, if I can put it on this square, I can check him and take this pawn, and even eat some more pawns in the future, like this or this maybe. But also it opens up the diagonal for this bishop, so I can take his pawn and kind of attack his rook as well. He sees this and moves his rook to protect the pawn. I saw that I still hadn't castled, so I did. He puts his knight over here, I guess so that I can check in with my bishop over here, because then he takes back. But then I could also just take back with the rook. Okay, so now I made a bit of a weird move. I could have put my rook here, pinning the knight to the king, and maybe take this pawn, but I didn't. I put my rook on the b5 square. The reason being that I could take this pawn with either the bishop, this, or with the rook. If I took with the bishop, he couldn't take back, because that would be a bad trade for him. I would just take his rook. And if I took with the rook, that would have just been a rook trade, but with an extra pawn for me. He sees this threat and puts his pawn forward, preventing me from doing that. So then I was like, fine, I'll go back to this square. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have moved over there in the first place, but I did. Now he attacks my rook with his c-pawn, and again, I can put my rook over here to pin the horse and get this pawn now, but I didn't. Instead, I go back to d8. Why? I have no clue. I guess I wanted the rooks to connect or something, but this is probably not the best move. Now he moves his knight, and now I can check him with the bishop again. And even better, I can check with the rook again and take this pawn. But instead, my dumbass just attacks his horse with my g-pawn. Yeah, high level plays, I know. He moves his horse again, and now I can't take it with the rook because it's defended by the pawn. And now basically I'm panicking. I'm like, damn, he forked these two pawns, so I need to move one. Basically, moving one of the two is very bad, and the other one is kind of neutral. Obviously, I picked a very bad one, and now he just takes the other pawn while checking me, forcing me to move my king, and then he just takes the other one, and also attacking my rook. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't see this in the game. I had plenty of time to think about it, but that was just a very weak play on my part. I was a pawn up, and now I'm a pawn down. But as you can see, I can still move the rook over here. Just the same plan, I can take the pawn, especially because my rook is under attack now. Kind of have to move it. Seems like a pretty decent move. But instead, I check with the bishop, offering like a trade of my bishop for the horse. Again, I don't know why I didn't see like the rook move over here. He didn't take the bishop though. He just moved his king over here. I don't know why you would move it over there when you have a lot of squares like right here. Even this one. It seems like you're just kind of unnecessarily trapping yourself here. But maybe I'm just bad at the game. Now I had to move my rook because, he's under attack by the horse. So I went over here, also attacking it. But he could also still like take my bishop and like trade it. Now instead of taking the bishop and accepting the trade, he goes for the free pawn instead. And I didn't really know what to do. I spent a few seconds on this move. I just check him again. But actually now that I think about it, I feel like this might have been a very good move. Obviously he can just go back here. But then I can like do the rook thing again and take this pawn. So yeah, take this pawn. And then, I can really put some pressure on him. He kind of has to move maybe, and I can take more pawns in the future. Like, I can really put some pressure on this guy here. He doesn't move over here though. He moves his king in an even more cramped spot. And I honestly don't know why. This doesn't seem like the best spot to be with your king. I mean, that's what I thought during the game. And there is a checkmate pattern here. And I felt like, I could checkmate him in the future here. So I check with the rook, limiting his squares to only this one. He can't go here because the bishop is here. Can't go here because the rook. So, he's forced to go here. And now I can attack him here with the pawn, which is actually the correct move to get the checkmate. But I couldn't see far enough into the future. I was like, oh no, if I move it here, then he can take this pawn. So instead of moving the f pawn here, I moved it over here to protect this pawn. And this completely ruins the chance for a checkmate because, you can just go here and get out of the cramped space. Like, this is basically his escape route now. Unless he doesn't see this and just plays a random move. Now the checkmate is back on, but I was like, I didn't see this move. I was still like, oh no, he can take this pawn for free. That's not good. And he can take my rook. So I moved the bishop first to protect this pawn for when I have to move this here. And so again, I'm letting him get out of the box by leaving this square open. He can just escape right here. No, not this. No. I was so blind this game, it's ridiculous. I really missed the checkmate twice in a row. Thankfully, my opponent was also blind and gave me another chance at completing the checkmate by moving his pawn over here. And finally, I saw the light. Or rather, I closed the light by going on this light square right here. I finally saw that if I moved this pawn here, he would have to go here. And I could checkmate him with my rook right here because this is defended. You know what they say, third time's the charm. So I move the pawn, he moves here, and I checkmate him with the rook. A classic 700 elo game, I guess.